Welcome to my channel. Today is best top 3 coins. Please don't skip this video. So let's get it started. The 1-cent coin of Canada, dated 1977, is a small bronze coin issued during the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, representing one of the most familiar and iconic pieces of Canadian currency. Though it held little monetary value at the time, it was widely used in daily transactions and is now regarded as a piece of Canadian numismatic history. The obverse side, front, of the coin, the central image is the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, who was the reigning monarch of Canada in 1977. This portrait is one of the most recognized royal effigies. Designed by artist Arnold McKin, it shows the Queen facing right, wearing a laurel wreath or tiara, with elegant detailing in her hair and features. This portrait was introduced in 1965 and remained on Canadian coinage until 1989. Around the Queen's portrait are the Elizabeth II d.G. Regina, which is abbreviated Latin meaning Elizabeth II, by the grace of God Queen. This inscription is standard on Canadian coins and reflects the monarch's official title and role as head of state. On the reverse side, back, of the coin, the design features a pair of maple leaves attached to a small twig. The maple leaf is Canada's national symbol and has been closely associated with Canadian identity for centuries. The design was created by G.E. Kruger Gray, a British artist who designed coinage for several countries. This maple leaf design was first used on Canadian 1-cent coins in 1937 and became one of the longest-running coin reverse designs in Canadian history. The reverse also includes the denomination 1 cent at the top, the country name, Canada, at the bottom, and the date, 1977, placed below the twig of the maple leaf. This simple but powerful design combines national pride with practical clarity, making the coin easily identifiable. The metal composition of the 1977 Canadian 1-cent coin is 95.5% copper, 3% tin, and 1.5% zinc, which gives it its distinctive reddish-brown color. This traditional bronze alloy had been used for Canadian pennies since the early 20th century, giving them durability and a pleasing appearance. The weight of the coin is 3.24 grams, with a diameter of 19.05 millimeters and a thickness of about 1.65 millimeters. Its edge is smooth without reading, a feature that differentiates the cent from higher denominations like nickels, dimes, and quarters. The Royal Canadian Mint was responsible for producing the 1977 1-cent coins. Millions of these coins were struck, ensuring they were widely available for daily circulation. The Mint operated both in Ottawa and Winnipeg during this period, though circulation strikes were typically produced in massive numbers without mint marks. In terms of historical context, the year 1977 was situated during a stable period in Canada's history under the reign of Queen Elizabeth II. Economically, inflation was a concern during the 1970s, and the value of small coins like the cent began to decline in terms of real purchasing power. Still, pennies remained indispensable for everyday commerce, particularly for making exact change. The purchasing power of a single cent in 1977 was more significant than today. It could contribute meaningfully to prices of goods, vending machines, or savings jars. Children especially were familiar with pennies, often collecting them in piggy banks or trading them for small candies or treats. The maple leaf design holds symbolic meaning beyond its decorative appearance. The maple leaf had long been used as a national emblem of Canada, appearing on military badges, government insignia, and eventually the national flag in 1965. Its placement on the penny reinforced the idea of Canadian unity and identity. For collectors, the 1977 Canadian 1-cent coin is relatively common because of its very high mintage. Circulated examples are abundant and hold only minimal value. However, coins in uncirculated condition, bright, lustrous, and without wear are more sought after. Proof-like and specimen sets produced by the Royal Canadian Mint are also of particular interest to numismatists. The Arnold McKin portrait of Elizabeth II on the obverse is itself significant in Canadian numismatic history. It replaced the earlier portrait by Mary Gillick, used from 1953 to 1964, and was in turn succeeded in 1990 by a more mature portrait by Dora de Pettery Hunt. Thus, the 1977 penny belongs to the McKin portrait era, which is an important collecting period for Canadian coins. The sheer numbers of these coins in circulation means that almost every Canadian alive in 1977 handled them at some point. They were part of everyday life, from grocery stores to parking meters. Because of their ubiquity, they evoke strong nostalgia for Canadians who grew up in the 1970s and 1980s. From a technical standpoint, the bronze alloy used for the coin ages over time, developing patinas ranging from bright red to deep brown. Collectors classify these color variations as red, red-brown, or brown, with bright red coins, showing original mint luster, commanding the highest premiums. The longevity of the 1-cent coin in Canada was remarkable. Though its value diminished over decades, it remained in circulation until 2012, when the Canadian government finally discontinued it due to rising production costs and declining usefulness. The 1977 issue, therefore, forms part of the long legacy of the penny in Canadian culture. From a Cold War perspective, the penny was also a symbol of Western stability. Canada's economy was closely tied to the United States, and its currency, including small coins like the 1 cent, was part of a broader North American identity of prosperity and consumer culture. The Royal Canadian Mint's craftsmanship in producing such coins is noteworthy. Despite being a low-value coin, the strikes were sharp, the designs elegant, and the metals consistent. This reflects Canada's strong tradition of minting coins to high standards of quality. As for numismatic value, most 1977 pennies in circulated condition are worth only their base value. However, coins graded at the highest levels, mint state 65 and above, may fetch a few dollars from collectors. Proof-like sets containing 1977 pennies are more valuable, particularly if still sealed in original government packaging. The collecting appeal of this coin extends beyond value. Many collectors assemble complete year sets of Canadian pennies, and the 1977 issue is an essential part of such a collection. Some enthusiasts even collect rolls of uncirculated pennies from this era as long-term investments. The enduring memory of the Canadian penny makes the 1977 coin especially nostalgic. Even though pennies were withdrawn from circulation decades later, Canadians often kept them as souvenirs or reminders of a time when they jingled in every pocket. This coin also provides educational value. Teachers and parents often use pennies to teach children about money, arithmetic, and history. The 1977 penny, with its maple leaf design and royal portrait, serves as an accessible piece of Canadian culture and heritage. In terms of design longevity, the maple leaf reverse, introduced in 1937, lasted until the end of the penny in 2012. This made it one of the longest running coin reverse designs in modern coinage history. The 1977 issue sits firmly within this tradition. The connection to Queen Elizabeth II also adds significance. Her reign was long and widely respected, and coins bearing her image now serve as historical reminders of her era. With her passing in 2022, these coins take on even more sentimental and historical value. The availability of. Next, the 1979 Canadian 1 cent coin is a bronze piece belonging to the currency system of Canada under the reign of Queen Elizabeth II. Although it represents only the smallest denomination in Canada's currency, its cultural, historical, and numismatic importance extends far beyond its tiny face value. The obverse side, front, of the coin carries the official portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, as was customary for all Canadian coinage of the period. The portrait used in 1979 is the second effigy of the Queen to appear on Canadian coins, designed by Arnold McKim, a renowned British sculptor and engraver. In this portrait, the Queen is shown facing right, wearing a laurel wreath in her hair. This depiction is dignified yet youthful, reflecting Her Majesty during the earlier decades of her reign. The McKim portrait was introduced in 1965 and remained in use on Canadian coinage until 1989. Around the portrait runs the Latin Elizabeth II d. Regina. The abbreviation stands for Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen. This traditional phrase is a formal affirmation of the monarch's constitutional position as Canada's head of state. The reverse side, back, of the coin features a pair of maple leaves attached to a small twig, a design created in 1937 by artist G. E. Kruger Gray. The maple leaf is the most important national emblem of Canada, representing unity, nature, and identity. The maple leaf design on the reverse is flanked at the top by the denomination inscription. 1 cent at the bottom appears the country name, Canada. Just above Canada sits the date, 1979, marking the year of minting. The metal composition of the 1979 1 cent coin is 95.5% copper, 3% tin, and 1.5% zinc. This alloy, often referred to as bronze, was the standard composition for Canadian pennies for much of the 20th century, giving them a distinct reddish color. The weight of the coin is approximately 3.24 grams. Its diameter measures 19.05 millimeters, and its thickness is about 1.65 millimeters. The edge is smooth, not reeded, distinguishing it from higher Canadian denominations. The 1979 penny was struck by the Royal Canadian Mint, which by this period had established itself as a world-class minting institution. Millions of these coins were produced to meet the needs of circulation across the country. As with other Canadian pennies of this time, the 1979 issue does not carry a visible mint mark. Circulating coins were struck in large quantities, making them highly common in day-to-day commerce. From a historical perspective, The year 1979 sits within a turbulent global economic decade marked by inflation, oil crises, and shifting political landscapes. In Canada, inflation was steadily eroding the purchasing power of the cent, though it remained in widespread use for making exact change. The purchasing power of a Canadian cent in 1979 was more than today, but it was already declining. A handful of pennies could still buy a piece of candy or help cover sales taxes, which made them important in everyday retail transactions. The maple leaf reverse is a design with deep national significance. The maple leaf had long been associated with Canadian identity, appearing in literature, military regalia, and eventually on the national flag introduced in 1965. Its appearance on the cent linked everyday currency to national pride. For collectors, the 1979 penny is not considered rare due to its very high mintage numbers. Circulated examples are easily found and usually only worth face value. However, uncirculated or proof-like examples are more desirable. The Arnold Machin obverse belongs to a distinctive era of Canadian coinage. Collectors often group pennies into portrait eras, and the Machin portrait coins, 1965-1989, represent a long and important chapter of Canadian numismatic history. Because of the high numbers produced, the 1979 penny is relatively common, but this also means that pristine examples graded as mint state 65 or higher are less often encountered. Such coins can command a modest premium among collectors. The Royal Canadian Mint also issued proof-like sets in 1979, which included carefully struck pennies with sharper details and mirrored finishes. These special coins were not intended for circulation but for collectors, and in terms of appearance, the bronze composition of the penny leads to significant color variation. Freshly minted coins display a bright red tone, while circulated examples often darken to red-brown or even chocolate brown. Collectors prize bright red examples. The durability of the bronze alloy ensured that many 1979 pennies have survived in relatively good condition even after decades of use. Unlike steel-based coins, they resisted corrosion unless exposed to harsh environments. From a cultural perspective, the penny was part of daily life in 1979 Canada. Nearly every Canadian carried them in pockets, jars, or piggy banks. They were essential for small purchases and held nostalgic value for children and families alike. The withdrawal of the Canadian penny in 2012 gave coins like the 1979 issue an additional layer of historical importance. No longer produced or circulated, they now serve as tangible reminders of an era when every cent counted. The economic cost of producing pennies in later decades far exceeded their face value, which was one of the main reasons for discontinuing them. However, in 1979, their production still served a practical role in commerce. The 1979 penny also forms part of a broader narrative of Canadian coin design. The maple leaf motif remained on the 1-cent denomination for 75 years, making it one of the most enduring and recognizable designs in world coinage. Collectors of Canadian coins often pursue date runs, collecting 1 penny from every year of issue. The 1979 piece is a necessary component of such sets and helps complete the Machin portrait sequence. The global context of 1979 also saw increased tourism and immigration to Canada. Pennies from this year often traveled internationally, carried in pockets and wallets, and thus spread Canadian symbols worldwide. From a numismatic investment standpoint, the 1979 penny is not valuable in circulated condition, but high-grade uncirculated coins and proof-like examples do have collector demand. The maple leaf design by Kruger Gray has been admired for its simplicity and balance. The twin leaves connected by a stem symbolize partnership, growth, and the natural beauty of Canada. The longevity of this reverse design meant that Canadians grew deeply familiar with it. The 1979 issue continued this tradition, reinforcing national identity through everyday money. Educationally, the 1979 penny is often used to teach students about Canadian coinage, the role of Queen Elizabeth II, and the symbolism of the maple leaf. Its accessibility makes it a powerful teaching tool. As with other coins, the condition grading system applies to 1979 pennies. Heavily circulated coins are graded good or fine, while lightly circulated ones may be very fine or extremely fine. Uncirculated coins fall into mint state categories. The value range for the 1979 penny is generally from a few cents in uncirculated condition to a few dollars for proof-like or certified high-grade examples. The Royal Canadian Mint's precision in striking these coins ensured consistent quality across millions of examples. Even the smallest denomination reflected the craftsmanship of Canadian minting. In terms of national memory, the 1979 penny recalls a period when Canadian society was still deeply cash-oriented. Debit cards and electronic payments had not yet displaced the need for coins in everyday use. Next, The 1-cent coin of Canada from the year 2000, featuring Queen Elizabeth II, is an important piece of Canadian numismatic and cultural history. By this time, the 1-cent coin, popularly known as the penny, had already become an enduring symbol of everyday Canadian life, even though its purchasing power had greatly diminished due to inflation. The 2000 issue is especially notable because it was struck at the dawn of a new millennium, a period when Canada was both modernizing its economy and preserving long-standing traditions in coinage. While the denomination itself was eventually discontinued in 2012, the 2000 Canadian penny remains a collectible artifact of national pride and monetary heritage. On the obverse side, the coin bears the third official effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Canadian artist Dora de Pedery Hunt. This portrait, first introduced in 1990, depicts a more mature queen with refined facial features, showcasing both dignity and continuity. Around the portrait appears the inscription, Elizabeth II D.G. Regina, which translates to Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen. This portrait remained in use on Canadian coinage until 2003, making the 2000 penny part of a recognizable era in Canadian coin design. The choice of Pedery Hunt's effigy also underscores Canadian artistry, as she was the first Canadian artist to design an effigy of the Queen for domestic coinage, adding to the coin's cultural importance. On the reverse side, the design features the iconic maple leaf twig, created by sculptor G.E. Kruger Gray, which first appeared on Canadian 1-cent coins in 1937. The design shows two conjoined maple leaves on a single twig, a strong and enduring emblem of Canada and its national identity. Above the leaves is the word Canada, while below them is the denomination 1 cent, along with the year 2000. To the right of the design is the small letter P, which indicates that this particular coin was struck using the new multi-ply plated steel composition introduced at the time by the Royal Canadian Mint. This transition was a major milestone in Canadian coinage, as it reduced production costs and improved the durability of coins, though it also introduced subtle differences in appearance and magnetic properties that interest collectors. In terms of physical specifications, the 2000 Canadian 1-cent coin had a diameter of 19.1 millimeters, a weight of 2.25 grams, and a thickness of 1.45 millimeters. Unlike earlier bronze pennies, the 2000 issue was struck primarily in multi-ply plated steel with layers of copper plating to preserve the traditional color and appearance. Its plain, smooth edge remained consistent with all Canadian pennies. These specifications represented a turning point, as Canadian coinage moved away from the traditional bronze alloy used in earlier decades to cost-efficient plated steel compositions, while retaining the same outward appearance for continuity. The mintage of the 2001 cent coin was very high, as the Royal Canadian Mint produced tens of millions to meet circulation demands across the country. This means that circulated examples are common and typically hold only sentimental or face value. However, uncirculated coins, especially those from official mint rolls or proof-like sets, and coins showing mint errors such as double strikes, die cracks, or planchet flaws are far more desirable to collectors. Proof versions with high-quality mirror finishes also exist in special collector sets and are valued significantly higher than circulation strikes. From a historical perspective, the 2000 Canadian penny captures the transition into a new millennium, both for Canada as a country and for its coinage system. Symbolically, it carried forward national traditions by maintaining the maple leaf design that Canadians had known for decades, while at the same time reflecting technological advancements in minting. Economically, the penny still played a role in everyday transactions in 2000, though its usefulness was steadily declining due to inflation. Its eventual discontinuation in 2012 made coins like the 2000 penny part of the final chapters of Canada's smallest denomination. Culturally, the coin is a reflection of Canadian identity. The maple leaf had long been a national emblem, appearing on the national flag since 1965, and its presence on the penny reinforced the connection between the nation's coinage and its symbols of unity. Combined with the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, the 2000 penny served as a representation of Canada's dual identity, rooted in its Commonwealth heritage and at the same time uniquely Canadian through its chosen designs and artistry. In summary, the 2000 Canadian 1-cent coin featuring Queen Elizabeth II is both historically and numismatically significant. With its Dora de Pedery Hunt effigy on the obverse, the enduring maple leaf twig design by Kruger Gray on the reverse, and its innovative plated steel composition, the coin stands as a marker of transition in Canadian currency. While common in circulation, uncirculated, proof, or error examples attract collectors, and its place at the turn of the millennium adds symbolic importance. Though no longer in circulation today, the 2000 penny remains a reminder of Canada's heritage economic evolution, and national pride. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe my channel for more videos.